Hello everyone and welcome to foreign language classes, and today we are going to be talking about the IELTS, particularly the writing section of the IELTS. As you may know, the IELTS has two versions, the general and the academic. Today we are going to talk about the academic version of the IELTS, and as you also may know, you are given 60 minutes for the writing section, both in general and the academic versions, and you have two tasks, Task 1 and Task 2. In Task 1 of the academic section, you are to describe a chart or a diagram or a table with a minimum of 150 words. It's a minimum. And in the Task 2, you are to write an essay with a minimum 250 words. In total, you're given 60 minutes, 1 hour for the writing section for both tasks, and you are recommended to spend about 20 minutes, approximately 20 minutes for the Task 1 and 40 minutes for the Task 2. But it's up to you how to use this time, how to allocate, how to divide your time. You can spend, you may spend 15 minutes for Task 1 and 45 minutes for Task 2, or 25 minutes for the Task 1 and 35 minutes for the Task 2, so it's up to you. But today, now we are going to talk about the Task 1 in more details, so let's start. Okay, let's start. So, in the academic writing Task 1, you'll be given graphic information. It may be a line chart, a bar chart, a pie chart, a table, or a diagram. Sometimes you may have two. For example, you may have a line chart and a bar chart in Task 1. And so, you are to describe this information, you are to describe what you see on the picture with words. The minimum 150 words, but it's better to aim at 170 or 180 words. It's better. Minimum is sometimes not enough, so try to write at least 170 or 180 words. In this task, in Task 1, since you don't have to write a lot, it's just 150 words, you are to describe, only to describe the information you see on the picture. Only description. You don't have to explain why is it so. Why, for example, why the amount of spendings for consumer goods was rising or was falling. You don't have to explain, you just have to describe, okay? You don't have to make any analysis. For example, if you have two lines on the line chart, you don't have to analyze why one of them is going up, the other is going down. No analysis, no explanation, no analysis, no prediction. Of course, you don't have to write what will happen in future, what will happen outside the range. No prediction and no opinion. You don't have to give any opinion. You just have to describe. Keep that in mind when writing Task 1. Okay? So now let's go to the structure of the Task 1. First, you are to write an introduction. In the introduction, you are to write what you see. You are to rephrase your task. For example, the line chart shows the amount of money spent for books in Russia for the period from 1999 to 2005, for example. That may be your introduction, just to describe what you see, what kind of information is given in the task. Okay? So, introduction, yes. The line chart shows something. Instead of shows, you may use some different verbs. Demonstrates, represents, provides information. What else? Describes, and so on. So you have plenty of verbs to write in your introduction. Pick one. Then we go to main body. In the main body, once you've written your introduction, just stop for some time and look very attentively to the pictures, to the charts or tables or diagrams. First of all, pay attention to the title. What does it say? Then, pay attention to axis. If it's a chart, this is axis Y, this is axis X. Do not describe the structure of a chart or table in your writing. Just pay attention. What is here and what is here? For example, here years, and so on. Here amount of money in $1 million, for example. Or if it's a table, there are columns and rows. Okay, so pay attention to axis. To what is the measurement? What is the measures of the chart, of the information? Okay. Then pay attention to maximums and minimums. Maximums and minimums. Maximums and minimums. Okay? Maximums and minimums. Then, pay attention to trends, so-called trends, similarities, and exceptions. Pay attention to similarities and differences. For example, here, here, and here, the line is going up, while here, here, and here it's going down. So in this, here, here, and here there was a rise. And here, here, and here there was a fall, there was a decline. So after getting this kind of information, after examining your task, you should decide on your paragraphs. How many paragraphs you are going to have in the main body? Maybe one, maybe just one, maybe two, three is maximum actually. And what kind of information, how are you going to organize your writing? For example, in paragraph 1 you may describe maximums, and paragraph 2 minimums. In paragraph 1 you may describe trends, and paragraph 2 exceptions. Or in paragraph 1 you may describe maximum, minimums, paragraph 2 trends and exceptions, depending on the information that you have to describe. So that's the way of planning. First, after you have written the introduction, plan your main body, plan your paragraphs, then start writing. Okay? And since you don't have to give any opinion or explanation or analysis, it means that you will not have any conclusion in the task 1. However, you might have a summary. A main body and introduction, main body, summary. Not always, sometimes. Summary is, in summary, you just write what you have written in the main body, but in different words and shorter. Sometimes you cannot, you don't have enough, you lack words in your writing. For example, you need 20 more words, and you just write summary and put up your amount of words, number of words. It's not good to do that, but sometimes, in some cases, when you don't know what to do, it's better you have to write at least 150 words. So if you don't know what to write again what you have written, but using different words and shorter. That will be a summary. Okay? So now let's go to some helpful vocabulary for the task 1. Alright, now vocabulary. I'm going to give you an example, some words, useful words that may help you in task 1. Okay, so what kind of verbs you may use to describe upward trend? These words like to go up, to increase, to rise, maybe to jump to a very sharp rise, or to climb. Okay? For downward trend, you may use go down, to decrease, or to decline, to drop, or a sharp decrease or sharp decline, or to slump, which is even sharper decline, sharper drop. It's a sharp drop. Okay, to describe stability, you may use stability. Remain stable, or steady. To plateau, to level off. For example, it's here, goes up and then levels off. Okay? You may also use adverbs and adjectives to like to go up significantly, or a significant rise. To go down sharply, or a sharp decline. To rise drastically. Or a drastic increase, or dramatically, as well as a dramatic decline. Okay, so these are words that may be useful in the task 1. So now let's try to use these words in a certain example. So at first, it went up or increased to 10, let's say $10 million, and then plateaued or leveled off. It remained stable for a certain period of time, but after that there was a drop or a sharp decline or sharp decrease down to 5. After that it plateaued or leveled off again and was stable for some period of time, but after that it jumped or went up sharply, significantly, up to 12, and after that started to go down, to decrease, to decline, gradually. Another word is gradual. Which means something something slow, like something like step by step, gradually. Okay? So now I would like to go to a real example of task 1, which I'm going to write right here. Okay? Okay, now let's start writing. That's an example of IELTS academic writing task 1. As you see, that's the task. The chart below shows estimated world literacy rates by region and by gender for the year 2000. Write a report for university lecturer describing the information below. That's the information. Here we have a bar chart. The title is Estimated World Illiteracy Rates by Region and by Gender 2000. We have it for men and women in 6 different regions: the developed countries, Latin America, Caribbean, East Asia, Oceania, Sub-Saharan Africa, the Arab states, and South Asia. Okay, so let's start writing. First, let's start with introduction. As you remember, in the introduction we should write what we see to describe in general the information that we see. Okay, let's start. This is, as I mentioned before, it's the bar chart. And we'll write the bar chart. Do not write below. Below means that you will have the chart below after your writing, but in your writing you will not have any charts on your answer sheet. So make sure you don't write below. The bar chart shows. It shows is already written in the task, so it's better to use another verb. Do you remember the list of verbs that we can use? Let's say the bar chart demonstrates. Demonstrates. Now, what does it demonstrate? Estimated world literacy rates by region and by gender, but it's not a good idea to write the task word for word. We should rephrase it, use different word as much as possible. Okay, the bar chart demonstrates what is literacy rates. Literacy rates is level of education. Okay, the bar chart demonstrates how should we write the education level by region and by gender. By gender means among men and women. Education level of men and women. By region, from different parts of the world or areas, parts of the world or areas. In 2000, or as of the year 2000, or as of the year 2000. That's one of the ways of writing the introduction. That we change literacy rates for education levels, by gender, men and women, by region, from different parts of the world. If you don't know how to change, for example, literacy rates or some other words, you may use descriptive language. You may describe a literacy rate. If you don't know the synonym, describe it. Let's say the bar chart demonstrates what? How educated were men and women. Women indifferent regions or areas in or as of the year 2000. That's the introduction. Okay, now let's count the number of words. Introduction, 18 words. Okay, now let's analyze the chart. As you remember, let's pay attention first to the title. The task says that the chart shows world literacy rates, while the title on the chart shows demonstrate illiteracy rates, which is just the opposite. So the literacy rate in developed countries was not 1%, it was 99%. The illiteracy rate in the developed countries among men was 1%. So pay attention to the title and to the task. What kind of information is actually described here? Illiteracy rates, 6 regions, men and women. Okay? Next, on the axis Y we have illiteracy rates in percent. In axis X we have 6 different regions. Okay, how can we divide our paragraphs? What can we write in our paragraphs? One of the way we can divide this chart in two and can describe illiteracy rates among men and among women in these 3 regions, and among men and the same in these 3 regions. We can choose, let's say, a certain level, let's say 20%, and describe regions with illiteracy rates below 20% and above 20%. We can also describe illiteracy rates among men and women in general, name regions with the highest and the lowest literacy rates, and then in paragraph 1 and in paragraph 2 describe the difference, the gap between literacy rates among men and women. I will do this in paragraph 1. Describe in whole the literacy rates in the 6. What were the literacy rates in the 6 regions among men and women? In paragraph 2, I will describe the difference between male and female illiteracy rates. Okay. Now, let's continue. Let's start our main body. Okay. Now let's start paragraph 1. In which we're going to describe illiteracy rates in 6 different regions among men and women. As we have 6 regions, and it's not a good idea to describe each region one by one, I'm going to group them in 3. The first 3 with the lowest literacy rates among men and women, and these 3 with the highest literacy rates among men and women. First, I'm going to describe the illiteracy among men. Okay? According to the chart, since we are describing the chart, the lowest illiteracy rates, among men were, we use past simple as the information is given for the year 2000. It was 15 years ago, so it's in the past. That's why we use past simple. Were in the developed countries, the Latin America, Caribbean, and East Asia, Oceania. East Asia, Oceania. 1, 10, and 8%. 1%, 10%, and 8% respectively. Means that 1% in the developed countries, 10% in Latin America, Caribbean, 8% in East Asia, Oceania, respectively. Okay, let's continue. While the highest illiteracy rate, or the least, the most illiterate, let's write the most illiterate. The most illiterate men were in Sub-Saharan Africa, the Arab states, and South Asia. Sub-Saharan Africa, the Arab states, and South Asia. 32, 28, and 35. 32%, 28%, and 35%. That's for male illiteracy rates. Now let's count number of words and continue writing paragraph 1 as I don't have enough space here. It's 47. Paragraph 1, 47 plus something. Okay? Okay, now let's continue. Now let's describe the male illiteracy, or female illiteracy. As for the female illiteracy, the most educated women were in, again, the developed countries, Latin America, Caribbean, East Asia, Oceania. In the developed countries, we can add here as well as for the most educated women as well as men were in the developed countries countries. Latin America, Caribbean. And East Asia, Oceania. And East Asia, Oceania. 2, 12, and 20. 2%. Now. We have just written that the most educated women were in these regions. Now we have to describe, we have to explain what means the most educated. The literacy level among women in these regions, the literacy levels were 2, 12, and 20. 2%, 12%, and 20%, respectively. Okay. Then the least educated women. Let's continue. While the literacy levels among women in these regions were 2%, 12%, and 20% respectively, while those means the literacy rate, or these, while those in sub-Saharan Africa, the Arab states, and South Asia, were, those means literacy levels were 48, 52, 56. 48%, 52%, and 56%. That's it for the paragraph 1. Now let's count number of words. 55. So in total in paragraph 1 we have 102, right? 102. Okay, now let's proceed to the paragraph 2. Alright, so now the paragraph 2. In the paragraph 2 we are going to describe the difference between male and female illiteracy rates in different regions. Okay? Here I have already written the difference, so in developed countries 1%, in Latin America 2%, and so on. Let's start. The difference, or the gap between male and female illiteracy rates. Male and female illiteracy rates was different or varied depending on the region. It was the smallest. It means the gap was the smallest in the developed countries and Latin America. not the smallest, since we have 2. It was relatively small. It was relatively small in the developed countries. In the developed countries, 1%, and in Latin America, Caribbean, and in Latin America, Caribbean, 2%. Whereas in other regions, it was over 16%. It was over 16%. It was over 16%. So 16% with was over 16% and was the biggest. Okay, and was the biggest. 24% in the Arab states. In the Arab states. So we have described the difference, the gap between male and female illiteracy, depending on the region. Okay, I think that's pretty much enough. Now let's count the number of words. If we lack them, then we'll try to write a bit more. It's 45 in paragraph 2. Paragraph 2, 45 words. So in total we have 165 words. Although we should aim at 170, 180, 165 is pretty much enough. We can actually add, for example, we can describe all 4 regions. We can give information on the gap between female and male illiteracy in 4 regions. Oh, by the way, it was not 16, it was over 12. Okay, let's change a bit. And in other regions, it was more than 12%. It was more than 12%. The biggest gap. The biggest gap between illiteracy, between educated men and women, between the number of educated, between the number of educated men and women, was the gap in the Arab states. States, 24%. Okay, the biggest gap between the number of educated men and women was in the Arab states. Okay, 24% is not the gap between educated men and women. We should write the difference between male and female. Female illiteracy rates was 24%. Okay. We cannot write here 24% because we are describing the gap between the number of educated men and women. The number is in number of people, not in percent. So here we give an explanation that the difference between male and female illiteracy rates was 24%. Okay, now let's count the number of words. 63, so it's plus 18, so now it's 100 and so now it's 183 words. It's a bit too much, but still okay. Alright, so now we have done one example, practice task 1 of the academic IELTS. So if you have any questions relating to this video or to the IELTS in general, you don't hesitate. You're very welcome to your questions, are very appreciated. Thank you and goodbye.